Hi, this is Carol Pajot from Innovate Training, and this is from the classroom to the kitchen nook, and we are on session 22. Yay! We are in part 3 of our mind maps, or otherwise known as graphic organizers. You should know that one by now. We've been talking a lot about it. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up this series. This is going to be the last video on the series. So if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, go back and find part 1 and part 2 and watch those, because they will make a lot more sense. This video will make a lot more sense having watched those 2 videos. Okay, so graphic organizers. Last week we talked about using mind maps and what the purpose of them are and what they're used for. And we talked about the persuasion map. And I went over with you the tool and how to prepare a thesis statement. Do you remember that? How I used a simple concept, a simple thesis, and I showed you how to prepare the support system for that thesis statement to prepare your first 3 or 4 paragraphs of your thesis. Now this can work for a paper, it could also work for a speech or a debate or other things. So I really do recommend using it. I'm telling you, honestly, all through college I used this because it was one of the tools that, one of the things that I had problems with is getting started. Once you get started, once you get that momentum, you can go and get your paper done, or get whatever project it is you have to get done. So I gave you that breakdown, I showed you how to do it, and I advised you to do it, and I left you a template so that you can use one for yourself. So what will we do today? How are we going to wrap up mind maps or graphic organizers? Well, I also told you during the first session about the Lotus Diagram. The Lotus Diagram is a really cool tool that is a good way of organizing certain characteristics of your project. For instance, I'm going to give you some examples. I told you I used it myself on a murder mystery game that I was using. But let's talk about what the possibilities of the Lotus Diagram. First of all, storytelling. And this is how I used it. A character study, storyboarding, scene descriptions, in other words, describing each scene for a play, a family tree, table assignments for maybe a wedding or an anniversary dinner, tools and instrument planning, menu planning, murder mystery, like I was using it, assignment organizers, and for teacher tools, organize your classroom, your student organizer, and organizing your student seating, desk seating assignment, curriculum, and grading tool. Wide variety of things you can use this for. So it looks like a very simple tool. Again, this is the Lotus Diagram. And I'm going to show you a picture of it. This is a Lotus Diagram. And it looks like just a bunch of boxes, a bunch of squares. But what it is each one of these, this looks like a tic-tac-toe, each one of these represents a separate component. And then from there, we divide out. So let me show you my example. Well, actually, let me show you their example first. Okay, this one, you could tell this graphic organizer, this Lotus Diagram, is made from somebody who is from the UK. Can anybody tell me how I know this? And if you look at the spelling, I'll give you the little few minutes. Da 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 da. No, I'm not going to do the whole song. How I can tell is how the word organizer is spelled. They spell their organizer Organiser. Well, how do Americans spell it? Organizer. Good way. And also, what do they call their Z's? Does anybody know? They call their Z's Z's. ZDs. Go figure. They call their elevators lifts. They call their attorneys counselors. No, solicitors. Solicitors. Yeah, go figure. All kinds of different ways. And we sound funny to them. So I know we chuckle at how they sound, but again, we sound funny to them. And believe it or not, guys, we have an accent. They don't. To them, right? It's all relative. All right. So this Lotus diagram, put on my glasses, they have characters of a particular story. So it's similar to the way I'm using it. So the center square, you see the different colors. They have the name of the chapter in the center, and then they have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. Now, what you can see is these are color-coded. So you can see as it goes out, the upper right left hand, we have Michelle Amorano. From there, it has her different characteristics or quotes. Maria Antonio, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, Melichetti, Barbara, Teresa, Pino, Salvatore. It has each one's characteristics. And we can even expand it from there. So I'll explain that. Okay, so what I'm going to include in my notes is a blank or a template. So a Lotus diagram template that you can use for yourself. Print as many of these as you need to. It's a really good idea if you had highlighters or marking pens of different colors. Maybe 8 different colors, 7 different colors, or like this one used stripes as well as the colors. So that way you can color code it as well. So think of it as a magnifying glass or a microscope, because each one of these you can focus in. What is that graphic that every time they focus in, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger? You end up with the same diagram. I got to think of that. I'm going to come back next week and tell you what that term is. If you know what that term is, when they look at the picture and they zoom in on it, it ends up being the same. It's called, put it in the notes. Show me up, okay? Show how much you know. Put it in the notes. I'm going to research it and I'm going to tell you next week. But anyway, it's like that tool because you can take it and expand out. This can be done on index cards. You can lay out index cards on a poster board or a piece of paper like this, or you can use electronic tool. You could even use Excel for this, or the tool, the table tool in Microsoft Word, which sometimes I like using that better than Excel because it's simpler to use. It looks very simple, but it's actually very complex. Looks can be deceiving. It's a multi-purpose tool, and it can be done using all those topics that I talked about. So let's look at mine, the way I used it. Okay, so the way I used it is I used it for my victim and for my suspects and witnesses. So in the center here, I have my victim. Victim name is Carolyn Kane. She was the one who was murdered. And the 8 people that I put around her name here are the suspects until they get ruled out. Once they get ruled out, then they become a witness. So in each of the squares around Carolyn Kane's center square, I put the name of each of these suspects. Now what I'm going to do, if you notice there's a plus sign and a negative sign. The plus signs are the way I'm indicting this person. In other words, what makes this person a suspect? What makes me point towards this person? And then the minus sign is acquit. What makes me think about ruling this person out? And then once I've ruled them out, then I put ruled out in the center. So if you look here, Joel Sampson has been ruled out. The reason why he's been ruled out is that his alibi has checked out. None of the other people have been able to verify their alibis. They were all at the scene at that time. So now we go around and we explain why each one is a suspect. Okay? That's how I use it. Now once I do that and I get my suspect, then we want to find enough evidence. So this person, the suspect, is going to end up in the center, and then from there the evidence is going to be, each piece of evidence is going to be in each center square, like I'm showing you here. There. It's over there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Venn diagram. So in this example, we have the Venn diagram. What the Venn diagram is are two circles. Actually, they could be 3 or 4 circles, but I'm showing you a very simple one to start out. So this very simple Venn diagram shows 2 circles. On the left is my expertise, and on the right are my wishes. So think of it this way. When you get a job, there are things you're good at, your expertise, what's your knowledge, maybe things you've been trained in or what your parents have shown you or something comes natural to you. And then there are things that you like to do, that you want to do, that are fun, that that you always grew up wanting to do. Now, somewhere in the middle, hopefully, these 2 areas are going to meet. So that's what that's what this Venn diagram demonstrates. So on the left, my expertise are programmer, social worker, budget analysis. Wow, this guy's got a wide range of skills here. And then gardener and pharmacist. I didn't write this, he did. But anyway, his wish, Superman, these are things he wants to do. Superman, pilot, fashion designer, musician, veterinarian. But under where they both meet are his dream jobs, the gardener or the pharmacist, because those both are his wishes as well as his skill sets. So they qualify as both. So that's where a Venn diagram, it shows you what things are, how things are separate and how things relate. And I'm going to show you another one. This one is whales and fish. Many people, when they're younger, very young, they think whales are a fish. But we all know that whales are not a fish. They're mammals. But here, whales and fish have 2 things in common. I have some things in common and some things not. So, under whales on the left, they have hair. We know fish don't have hair. They give live birth, so in other words, the baby whale just comes right out. And they breathe air. Even though they stay down a long time, they actually have to come up to get air. Whereas fish lay eggs, they have scales instead of hair, and they breathe water. They don't breathe water, but they're able to abstract the oxygen from the water through their gills. That's what they mean by breathe water. So, in the middle, where they both have in common, they live in water, they have fins, and they can swim. So that's how this Venn diagram is used in this case. Now I want to demonstrate how I've used it a little bit differently. So this Venn diagram I created some years ago when I was doing a train the trainer type program. I was helping other teachers understand teaching concepts. So this Venn diagram has all the circles inside one another. So if you look at what they're listing, remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. These are different learning processes. The deepest level of learning is where the student can create on their own. The lowest level of learning is remembering, such as, I want you to remember what 5 times 8 is. Well, that's learning a times table, that's a memory. And if I gave you a test, you could probably remember 5 times 8 is 40. That's a low level of learning. It's just rote memorization. It's not true learning. Where true learning is understanding why do 5 8s or 8 5s equal 40. You have 8 sets of 5 that all together equal 40. That's another level, understanding, applying, and analyzing. I just analyzed that problem. So I've gone deeper in my learning and my understanding. Evaluating, and now I'm going to create. So maybe I'll create something that will give that example of what 5 times 8 is. That's what this means. It's showing the different levels of learning. So I use this as a tool when I taught an in-service program for other instructors. So, Venn diagram and the Lotus diagram. Those are the 2 diagrams I demonstrated. Look in the notes. You will find a sample one or a blank one so that you guys can have one for yourself, print them up, and use them because they're really excellent tools. I'm also leaving you some links to some resources, how you can find some more of these graphic organizers or mind maps. Okay, I'm off to play my mystery game. I'm going to play detective now. So who is going to be the murderer? Is it going to be Mrs. Jones in the library with the rope? Or who is it going to be? So I'll let you know when I find out. Bye-bye. This is Carol Peugeot. Hi, this is Carol Peugeot, and don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to hit that bell.